Hello and welcome to the Football Breakdown. This is the Fantasy EFL preview show for Gameweek 34. I'm Matthew South.
And I'm Iain Cooper.
Yes, hello and welcome everybody, and welcome back, Iain. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you very much. Been an eventful couple of weeks, but be nice to just have back to a routine and try and approach this week properly, as last week was a bit of a mess for me, really.
Yeah, it was a weird one last week. Had to start the pod, kind of went about it a bit differently, just because for me sitting here and telling you eight players to eight players by myself or 12 players by myself wasn't the way to do it. So yeah, last week was an interesting one with the doubles. I guess I'll quickly run down how I did. Managed to get 98 points, which I think was pretty good. I think posted someone on social yesterday that I thought if you kind of got above 90 points, just having a look down our league and the overall league seemed to be a good return. Not too many people hit the triple figures. Some people did really well, but you kind of had to be very ballsy and basically take barrier defenders to do that. So which not many people did. A lot of us doubled up on Barrow's midfielders. So yeah, 98 points though for me. Connor Hall was my captain, got 12, always reliable. Amos with 9. Terrell Thomas was the Carlisle defender I used with 14. I pointed out I thought he was a better option than Lavelle, and he did outscore him, so I was happy with that, although it was an assist, which I didn't account for, but I'll take it anyway. And then I went for Will Wright as well, 10 points for him. Weirdly, it was a 0-0 for Swindon. I was kind of hoping Wright might score as well, but listen, we can't be too choosy on that one. My two midfielders, Foley 6 over 2 games was pretty quiet, and Sonny Carey did nothing either. But Matthew Dennis up front, 14 points for the Carlisle striker. Yeah, I was pretty keen to get him in my team on the pod, and yeah, glad that paid off. Carlisle themselves gave me 12 points and Port Vale gave me 7. I think that 1-0 Barrow win on Tuesday night seemed to have cost quite a lot of us, with Port Vale lack of clean sheets, lack of win, and not too many people, like I said, were backing Barrow in that way. They were trying for the interceptions, which they didn't actually pick up many of. Instead, they just went and scored with their defenders. So yeah, Iain, how was your team looking?
Yeah, somehow it was quite a small pool if you were trying to go for the double game week. There was only a select amount of teams, and I somehow got it wrong. And it was 77 points, and that's mainly just from Connor Hall was a captain, so I got 24 points there. The same keeper, Ben Amos, so 9 points. I went for Lavelle. I preferred his defensive actions, and as we said, they were better, but he didn't get the assists, so he only came with 9 points there. I had Foley in midfield with 6 points, pretty poor. And then I went Ben Whitfield just for his chance creation. I noticed about the set pieces. Didn't come trump, so he only got 2 points for the first game and then was left out of the second game, so really frustrated to have 2 points there. My sub point 1 pick, I didn't try and pigeonhole myself into the double game week, and I probably should have. I went for Ben Woods for Accrington, and his points returns have dropped quite a bit, really. Well, even since pretty much game week 22, they are consistently low. He did have 10 points the other week, and I think that sort of drew my attention, and he only got 3 points for me there. And then up front, I went for Danilo Orsi. I know I shouldn't have, and I kicked myself as soon as I selected him and saved the team. But he's just a player that I really like, and I think he's one of the players in the EFL I really want him to capture his form again. And I've clearly reflected that by just picking him twice recently, and he's returned nothing for me there. So I got 5 points. So pretty annoyed at myself. I just went with my heart rather than my head there. And then I went for the two same teams of Port Vale with 7 points and Carlisle with 12 points.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think the Orsi point's interesting. I was having a look at his stats earlier, and his stats for Burton, like he didn't shoot a lot, but his goals per shot ratio is really good.
Yeah.
He's a really good finisher. They just don't seem to be, I don't know, giving him the chances at MK Dons, or he doesn't seem to be getting into those positions, which is a bit of a shame. Yeah, I was quite against MK Dons going into that week, and probably wrongly so. They actually showed up. But it's so hard to work out who you're gonna,
That's what
who's
really
gonna score
annoyed me.
points for them.
I really fancied MK Dons. I didn't back them enough to pick them in the team, but I made sure I picked one of their main men, and he was the one that didn't turn up. So I was really frustrated there.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. Well, on to this week then, and it's a full double game week for League One and League Two. So we're going to go back to our normal format, but we're going to leave out the Championship because it's single game week in the Championship. We think all the picks are going to be focused on the lower leagues, so we're not going to waste your time or our time, trying to come up with someone in the championship who's gonna not be on a double game week. So yeah, I think next week though is a full championship double game week. So we'll probably do the opposite next week. We'll have a look at the full fixtures. But yeah, so yeah, we're just gonna go straight into League One this week, and I'm gonna take us away with the League One goalkeeper. There's a few options I think this week. It kind of depends on who you like the look of and who you're gonna put elsewhere in your team. I've picked out three goalkeepers that I am considering, and they are Arthur Okonkwo for Wrexham, Ryan Allsop for Birmingham, and Corey Dye for Stockport. And the reason I'm actually leaning towards a Dye at the moment, and the reason that is because I don't think people are going to want to put two. But if they're going to put two Birmingham players in your team, do you want to waste it on a goalkeeper? And similarly with Wrexham, you're going to probably pick a Wrexham defender, so maybe you're not going to pick the goalkeeper. So it kind of leaves a Dye as the third one. Listen, he's got 2 clean sheets in 3. His average point is lower than the other two, but they've got a solid defence and they've got easier fixtures, I'd argue. Burton and Stevenage, who average less than a goal a game away from home. Burton's form is picking up a little bit, but I trust Stockport to be able to keep them at bay. Stockport in this in that promotion battle, that loss to Wrexham's probably means that it's going to be the playoffs for them. But this is last gasp for the automatics. I think they're gonna keep playing the way they have all season, which is pretty compact at the back, but nice and open and expressive up front. And I just think Burton and Stevenage are two teams who are going to sit back and struggle to create opportunities against them. So I can see another 2 clean sheets coming Corey Dye's way.
Yeah, nice. I like the thought process there of where people are going to want to have players from the big teams, which is where I'm kicking off because I've got Christoph Clara for Birmingham as my defender pick. He's made 34 starts this season out of possible 36, which makes him the highest appearanced Birmingham player in the starting squad. His clearance numbers aren't particularly high, averaging 5.6 per 90, but they're still pretty attractive to me. And he's just under 2 tackles per 92. But being involved in 16 clean sheets this season is really what draws my eye. One word of warning with Clara is he has 9 yellow cards this season, but it's only a minor drawback. You only get the -1 point if you pick that up, so it's not too devastating. Birmingham host bottom of the league Shrewsbury, who are now managerless. So this should be quite an ideal game to claim the clean sheet points. Shrewsbury are goalless in 5 of the last 6 games, and playing away from home to a dominant Birmingham side, this drought may well continue. The second match is away to Bristol Rovers, who sit just above the relegation zone. They haven't scored in the last 2 fixtures, but this does come with a word of warning because Bristol's home form would put them 10th in the league. And they haven't been kept out of the goal since 26th of November against Blackpool, if I'm right. But right now, playing Birmingham is just a complete different test to anyone else in League One. So I'm still pretty confident of the clean sheet here as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's solid. I do have a question to pose to you. Is the rule of 10 yellow cards gives you a ban still in play, or have we hit that cut-off point yet? Just as a thought process, if he did pick up a yellow on Saturday, would he miss Tuesday? I think you said he was on 9 there. So
yeah, we've got 10. Birmingham have 10 games left. That's a really good point. I just don't know when the cut-off is for that.
Yeah, it just came into my head when you said 9, and I was like, that's interesting actually. Yeah, when's that cut off? Because if we've hit it, then absolutely no need to worry. If we haven't, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to pick up a yellow on Saturday, but maybe just a bit of caution if he were to and miss the game on Tuesday is my only thinking.
It's all right. He's not had a yellow card in his last 2 games, so you might be safe. However, the 2 games before that were both yellow cards, so just a word of warning, which is why I did bring it up. Didn't bring it up for that reason, but I knew I needed to mention it somewhere.
Yeah, interesting. No, I do like the pick again. Yeah, it's kind of why I left Allsop out in goal, and it's why I'm going to leave out Kieran Dowell as my midfielder. I do kind of like the look of him though. 2 goals in 3 games, but I feel like you'd want to go Birmingham striker, we all know who that is, and maybe Birmingham defender to kind of get that aspect. But Dow's 5.1 average, he's making a name for himself in that team, is interesting. Another player who's interesting is the returning Kwame Poku from injuries, being eased back in. He got an assist starting against Charlton last week. Is it time to get him back in the team? I'm
Yes.
really excited. I think it might be. He's not going to be my suggestion though, but I'm so excited. I really had to bring him up because he's still like his average points is 6.9. It's ridiculous. Reading away and Crawley away. Crawley away definitely. I think if Peterborough had two home games or at least one home game, I would be on the Poku train right now. But instead, I'm going to play it safe. My League One midfielder is the surprisingly still only 1.1% picked Albie Morgan. I can't believe he's still at that percentage because he is just a 7 point machine. It's a 7 point average. He covers all bases. And last week I was kicking myself and I tried to gamble on his midfield partner Sonny Carey, and instead Morgan walked away with like 8 points and Carey walked away with 2 points, and I was fuming. So yeah, listen, Albie Morgan, I just think it has to be. He's just the most consistent point scorer in midfield options right now. But we're edging close to Poku territory, and I'm excited.
We certainly are. So when I go into the forward pick, I could quite easily, same as you, talk about Richard Kone, Charlie Kelman, or Jay Sansfield. In this selection, their goal scoring's been really strong, and they're still productive right now. But when building my team, I want to mention another name and highlight Malik Mothersill. So Poku's partner, who plays just on the inside and a three behind the striker. He's up to 11 goals and 7 assists this season. And he's had 6 goal involvements in the last 8 games. And Peterborough's results have improved finally as well, being unbeaten in those 8 games. As you mentioned, they have 2 away games, which haven't been too fruitful for Peterborough, but that's mainly due to Peterborough struggling to keep goals out of their net away from home rather than scoring them themselves. The first game will be so intriguing when they play Reading, who are in real strong form too. I was really considering picking Bindon as my defender pick, but it's players like Mothersill that worry me, which is exactly why he's in my thoughts here. The second game is away to Crawley, which has the potential of being a really entertaining game with Scott Lindsay back at the club, but a threatening Peterborough side certainly wouldn't be at the top of his list for teams he wants to face at Broadfield Stadium.
Yeah. I think Mothersill is a very, very fun player to get in your team right now, and a nice way to round off our League One picks there. So, Ian, do you want to take us away with your League Two goalkeeper?
Yeah, so I've picked a keeper here in James Belshaw, who I feel really strongly he's going to be involved in 2 0-0s. Belshaw has a fairly high save percentage of 71.3 and has managed 11 clean sheets this season, which is quite impressive for a team lower down the table. He's also saved the 2 penalties he's faced this season. But the main factor of why I've picked Belshaw is they played both Gillingham and Tranmere at home, 2 of the lowest scoring sides when away from home. Gillingham have only scored 11 goals in 18 away games, which is just ridiculous, and Tranmere isn't much better, scoring 12 goals from 19 away games.
Funny you mentioned those opposition and that team of Harrogate, because Anthony O'Connor is my defensive suggestion for the exact same reason. I think it's going to be 2-0 for Harrogate this week, and why not pick the guy who averages 11 clearances a game along with that? His clearance stats are just ridiculous. I think he's the highest point scoring defender in the league, and Gillingham and Tranmere, even a Gareth Ainsworth Gillingham, I don't think are gonna change their fortunes too much right now. I think that's very much an appointment for next season. I can see Harrogate having a pretty solid defensive week. I was thinking of a couple of other options that I'll just bring to the table. I think Dimitri was back for Crewe. I think that's an interesting one, but they've been conceding quite a lot of goals, so it's good to see him back in, and he did get a clean sheet last week, although they did escape some dodgy penalty calls to do that. And I had Will Wright last week, and I think he's definitely in contention most weeks. He's I didn't get to mention him in the pod because he was a kind of a late addition. So I did kind of want to bring him to the table. He's a really solid point scorer. He takes set pieces. He's got 6 goals this season, and his clearance numbers are really, really good. So he does does cover that all-round game, but I do think Anthony O'Connor just stands out far, far too much this week.
Yeah, sorry. I had a real strong feeling you're going to go for Anthony O'Connor, but I genuinely had to bring up Belshaw for the exact same reasons. O'Connor's probably a better pick actually if you want someone from Harrogate, because you're going to get the clearance points as well as the clean sheets. Where I'm solely hoping for the clean sheets for Belshaw. But quickly moving on to the midfield pick for League Two. So it might come as no surprise to some listeners. I'm still very positive on Grimsby. Especially if you ignore the two home losses recently to Salford and Notts County, if that's possible. But they still look strong. So I'm selecting one of their key players, George McEachran, a player who absolutely passes the eye test for me, but is starting to show consistent point scoring too. He tops the charts for interceptions for midfielders in League Two. He only has 2 goals this season, but they've come from his last 6 games, which is promising. And McEachran's also averaging 7.1 points from his last 6 games too, which is why I really want to jump on it now.
Yep, solid pick. He's very noticeable in the when you have a look down like average point scorers and things like that. He's propping up those lists, which is nice to see. Yeah. Up front, then I'm turning my attention to South London. Harry McCurdy is back in League Two, and he has scored 2 goals in 2 games for Bromley, one off the bench and one starting. And it's really, really tempting to gamble and put him in, but I'm going to play it safe and tell you that his teammate is the best striker in League Two. His teammate is Michael Cheek, and Michael Cheek is the one for this week. He gets a shot on target every game, 2 shots a game, 17 goals and 6 assists. Honestly, when you just look down his point returns, they're just so consistent. It's very rare that he doesn't score, and he actually averages a goal every other 90 minutes. So 5, 5, 7, 3, 6, 1, 10, 6, 10. It's solid point returns for a striker. We know they're limited unless they go and score 3, 4 goals a game, which no striker is really doing right now. So I think Cheek for Bromley with Salford at home and Newport away. Salford away from home and conceding, like they're not the best defensive side. They're a solid side, but it feels like their window's kind of closed on when they were a good team. Newport games are just goals. Like they're actually really good at home, but they're not really good defensively. So, that's another game where Bromley won't mind going to Wales and just having a go. And if they do that, Cheek's just going to be the beneficiary. So yeah, I think Cheek's a really good option this week. But if you want an outside bet, then Harry McCurdy could be your man.
It's funny you said that. I was just looking at McCurdy's 2 goals there, and they were both actually assisted by Michael Cheek as well. So maybe Cheek is the way to go. If he's not going to score, then he'll set up McCurdy. You still get the points that way as well.
Exactly. I think those 6 assists that he's got, they kind of surprised me a bit. I was like, I know we've been monitoring most of the season, but 6 assists still seems high for like someone who you kind of just associate as being a poacher. So it's good to see he just chips in all around. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind Michael Cheek being in my team, and then I can watch his TikTok next week and watch him banging a goal on that. So
That was definitely some sort of New Year's resolution, because they've all come in 2025 as well. So it's a part of a game that he's really been working on. Because I was certain it was some point in the season we were saying he's just like Matt Stevens, how he's just a goal poacher and he's not really going to provide too much elsewhere, but he clearly is now. So maybe it's even more of a reason to jump on him.
Exactly. So now we get into our sub 0.1% pick. As always, myself and Iain are going to pick a player that has been picked by 0.1% of people or less going into this game week. Iain, do you want to start us off this week?
Yeah, sure. And I'd imagine this is to your delight, but I'm going back for an extra defender again. All 3 of them are still up for grabs in this section. Ed Turns has an incredible average rating, but I'm going to go for Alex Hartridge, just due to having a high potential return of points by basically having 2 assists for Exeter as well as scoring. They play Wrexham at home and Barnsley away, which I think is an ideal pairing where both teams won't be so superior as what they would be in the reverse fixture. I'm fairly confident I'm the only person going into game week 34 with this thought, but hopefully that means I'm the one that's going to be quite smug come next week.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because my sub 0.1 pick comes from Wrexham. It's a similar thought process though of I'm getting a defender in that back 3 for not at a 0.1% rate, which is just crazy. And that defender is Lewis Brunt. He is in the Wrexham team now. He started the last few games. He plays on the left side of the back three. Seems to be their settled defence. You know, he started the last 2 games and they kept 2 clean sheets. He got 20 points in the process. Happy days. Yeah, he's literally in 0% of teams right now, with a 6.5 average on the season. He's actually started 13 games in the league and been part of 7 clean sheets. So we're looking at more than a clean sheet every other game. Yeah, extra away, I can see this being a really low scoring contest. I think Wrexham will be too good for them, but at the same time, you know, extra definitely a decent, well, definitely a decent team at home. They've kind of stabilised their form a bit when they're heading towards the relegation zone. They also have another away game to Cambridge United, but again, I just think it's 2 teams who don't have the biggest attacking threat right now, going up against a Wrexham side who sit in second place and are looking for that championship promotion. So I'm going to take one of their defenders at 0.1% in Lewis Brunt.
Yeah, lovely. I can see why he's 0%. Like, his average rating is really good and he plays for a really good defence, but it's the toss-up of you're just going to go for Cleworth if you had the option of them both just because of his goal scoring. But for this section, Brunt is absolutely perfect for it.
Exactly. Cleworth, O'Connell, you know, they've got options there, and he doesn't always start, so that is obviously the risk. But I think they've kind of got, I think they're going to let's get a settled lineup in now, and O'Connell seems to be playing better in the middle of the defence, which opens up that slot at the left with Danskar on the bench as their backup option. So yeah, no, I kind of like the look at this one this week. So do you want to run me through how your team looks going into this game week?
Yeah, sure. So I have gone back to the formation of a 3-2-1, and I've got James Bell-Shaw in goal with Anthony O'Connor partnering him as there. So I'm really backing the 0-0 as predicting here. Sub-0.1 pick of Alex Hartridge, and Christoph Clara rounds off my defence. In my midfield, I've got George McEachran, and I have gone Kwampoku. I am sticking him in. I'm getting there early before people realise that he's back. And up front, it's going to change consistently, but I have gone for Richard Kone to start going into this game week.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, at the moment I have Corridor in goal. I have a back three of Brunt, O'Connor, and Gillespie. I'm still weighing up that latter pick, but his points are just so high sometimes that he's hard to look over. Midfield, Albie Morgan, and at the moment I'm partnering with Luke Molyneux. Doncaster have 2 home games against a Carlisle side who concede a lot of goals and a Walsall side who are stumbling around a bit, and that could be a really exciting game between a club in first and a club in third as we get nearer to the title. So Molyneux for now, and then up front I have gone Stansfield, but yeah, the striker options are I feel the striker options lie in League One this week. I mean, Cheek is definitely my League Two shout, so Stansfield, Cheek, you know, Kone is always an option. Yeah, leaning towards the former right now. And then into our final section then, which is our teams to win. And as always, myself and Iain will have a £5 bet on our 2 teams to win their first game of the game week. And we have a little head-to-head running, which Iain is clear of. I've actually stopped tracking it. I need to go back and track it, but Iain's definitely well clear of it. But you know, I think I'm actually edging back into the profit as well, which is good. But yeah, Iain, who are your 2 teams to win this week?
So the 2 teams that I've got for this game week, first up, it has to be Birmingham City. I've got 2 chances to use them left, and I have seen that over the Easter week that they have a triple game week, so I need to save 1 pick there, but I'm happy to use my other pick for Birmingham right now to play Shrewsbury and Bristol Rovers. It's perfect time to get maximum points, hopefully. And the second team I have gone for, I've been banging on about them. They've got 2 away games, so I'm hoping for more bonus points here. I'm going for Grimsby. Their first game is against Colchester, which is slightly controversial. Colchester are good defensively. They still don't offer too much going forward to really worry me here. And then the second game is against Crewe. As you said, Dimitri is back, but Crew, I don't find Crew that inspiring either, and I do think Grimsby have enough going forward to trouble both these teams here. So I'm going to back Birmingham and Grimsby, which returns me £22.63.
Yeah, very nice. I'm also backing Birmingham. It just feels like the obvious option this week. I'll have one more use of them after this, which saving for game week 38 on their triple game week. And the other team I'm going for is Wrexham. I think it's going to be a big week for them as they edge ahead towards the championship. They've got 2 away games. I'm happy to try and get those 2 away wins. I think that's a good amount of points. And while you could say they're not the easiest away games, I think when you look at the fixture list, it's actually probably the two of the easier ones you can really ask for at this stage. You're not going to get, I mean, Birmingham's 2 games as well. They're just so easy that you're not going to get that for everybody. But I do think that the fact they're playing 2 bottom half teams is just something I want to take advantage of. So Wrexham for me, the double on the first 2 games of that game week. Return £11.61. Not the biggest, but listen, we're just trying to get the points at this stage in the season. That brings us to the end of the show. As always, do follow us on the socials. We're on X at FBBDpod. We're on Bluesky at Football Breakdown. Do get involved. Do leave a comment with how your teams are looking. If you think any of our picks are terrible, let us know. If you think any of the picks are good, also let us know. We appreciate any feedback, and give us a like and a rate. It really does help us out, please. If you did enjoy the show, that is. So, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Iain.
Thank you, Matthew.